What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fancast Live podcast. With me today is Jamie Hollywood Barrett. We're going to be talking some New York Rangers hockey. We didn't get a chance to preview the season prior to Thursday night's game, Jamie, but I finally got you on, and we're going to do that today, even though the Rangers already won in the win column. It was a great game the other night, a 5-1 win. But before we get into the game, we're going to start by previewing the 2023-2024 season, Jamie. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. How you
You
feeling
bet.
about the New York Rangers here in 2023?
Listen, it's great to be back and to have some Rangers hockey. It's been a tough season with the Yanks and for your Mets and the Giants. We can't even go there anymore. So the Rangers coming in with a very competitive team. We're always very competitive regardless, but we have some realistic expectations to go far. Um, we'll definitely touch into the last couple of seasons. Last year was a bit of a disappointment. And we have a new coach and new outlook. And but it's exciting because we know that this Ranger team is going to win. They're going to be a winning team, and they got all the pieces to make a run. So it's exciting. Looking
Yeah, no
forward to it.
doubt about it. So, I mean, you just pointed out the fact that the Giants, Jesus, I still got the Giants on my mind. The New York Rangers had a disappointing end to their last season in the playoffs against the Devils, a series that the Rangers led 2-0. And early on in that series, and then they allowed the Devils to come back on home ice to tie the series, and then things just went apeshit for the New York Rangers. For some odd reason, the Rangers couldn't contain the New Jersey Devils' speed and offensive skill set, even with the acquisitions they made at the deadline. It was quite disappointing, especially when you take a 2-0 lead in the series. You thought, a lot of Ranger fans thought that series was over after two games, and quite honestly, the Devils came on strong and ended up taking the series and advancing, and leaving the Rangers behind in a first round exit. Um, Gerard Gallant, obviously, a lot of mixed emotions on whether he should have been fired or let go, whatever the case. And then here comes Peter Laviolette. I had my frustrations with Gallant last year, with the fact that he constantly kept changing the lines. Um, to me, it was frustrating because there was no consistency whatsoever as far as the lineup, the everyday lineup was concerned for the New York Rangers. And the fact that you go into the playoffs against a speedy New Jersey Devils team, yeah, you take a 2-0 lead, and then they come back and tie the series, and you don't have an answer for the Devils at that point. I mean, what would you think about Gerard Gallant's coaching last year? I know you had mixed emotions as well. You liked him. You didn't think he should have been fired. What did you think about Gerard Gallant and his system last year?
Well, I mean, it's New York. It's a tough market, and we have an owner that's very petulant. He owns the Knicks as well, and he's going to make decisions and he's going to butt in his opinions on things. I think we can get to this a little bit too. I think he had a lot to do with getting Patrick Kane, and I'm not sure if Drury was as on board to get him because we got Tarasenko first. That was indicating, okay, we got a skill guy, then we're going to get a gritty guy. When we got Kane after Tarasenko, that seemed a little odd to me, although you can't turn down Patrick Kane. So we'll get to that. But I think Gerard Gallant, I think they started out really slow, 11-10. If we remember that game,
Yep.
Jacob Trouba,
Yep.
the famous game, throws the helmet on the boards, the rallies the team. So you know, everybody in New York was on Gallant and on the Rangers and saying that, the Rangers are collapsing and Gallant is not doing a good job. But after that moment, the Rangers had one of the best records in the league. So the 11-10-1 start, that's a lot of hockey. It's almost a quarter of the season playing 500. You could say that's mediocre. But after that start, the Rangers, had a big finish and they finished, just a couple of points shy of second place. So I think Gerard Gallant did right the ship, and you have to give him credit for getting us to where we were in the playoffs. And honestly, we were okay with where we were getting in the playoffs because the Devils were inexperienced, And being at home, we predicted that they'd be a little tight, and the Rangers took advantage and hopped to a 2-0 series lead. But I want to go back to earlier in the season and what you touched on too. Gallant, he plays a structured game. A lot of coaches do, where he wants to find these gritty guys, and the Rangers just, when they lost Ryan Reeves, that was a guy Gallant really liked to have in the lineup. They moved on from some grittier players over the last couple of years that I think he liked. And I think the team was very skillful and very, East-West. And I think Gallant, he didn't rein in and didn't have the personality to really hold them accountable for some of these bad habits. And I think the Rangers got by. They won a lot of regular season games. Shesterkin played great. They pulled games out of the fire, and they had a very successful season. But I think come the playoff time against the Devils, there was an issue because the Devils were clogging up everything in the middle of the ice, and we weren't getting the puck pressure and the forecheck that we needed. And I think we could also say to a couple of acquisitions, Tarasenko, I think, was pretty solid for us. But I thought that once we got Tarasenko, we would have gotten someone more grittier that plays the body on the forecheck a little bit more. When you get Patrick Kane in, it changes the dynamic of your lineup. The power play is going to be different, and you're going to have to account for another guy who likes to control the puck. So I think the power play and special teams suffered a little off schedule with him. When we got to the playoffs, there was just a glaring weakness at some of the wing spots. And I think you could go to Patrick Kane in terms of not being able to battle for loose pucks, probably much too hurt to be on a playoff roster. But I think, again, Dolan forced his hand there and forced Drury to make sure we get him. So I think from a lineup standpoint, that might have hurt us, even though he is a Hall of Famer. And I think the lines never recovered when he got in, because you have Lafreniere and Kakko. These are two of your top two picks, right? I mean, the organization has been expecting these guys the last couple of seasons to play top 6 minutes and to contribute and score a lot of points. And, 2 years ago, they bring in Kopp, they bring in Vetrano. The kids, it's the third line. They're getting playing time. They're, it's fun. It's, they're getting into their own. Well, now we're 2 seasons from that. And last year was supposed to be another step. And I think that might have messed up with the psyche of Lafreniere and Kakko and Hedl, because they were just not getting the minutes maybe that they thought that they were getting. So I think now with Gallant out, and I think I don't feel he deserved to be fired. I think he did a really good job. It's possible that the Rangers leadership group, like Zibanejad, Panarin, and Kreider, they want a head coach that's more stern, that's a little bit more aggressive and holding them accountable, and, not much of a player's coach. And I think the Rangers did some self-reflection after last year and said they needed a kick in the ass. And Laviolette is a guy that, has the pedigree and has that respect that he commands. So I do miss Gallant. I think he did a good job, but I think Laviolette's going to have a new perspective to bring to the Rangers.
Well, there's no doubt the Rangers had a really strong roster last year. Expectations going into the last season was that the Rangers were going to go deep into the playoffs and even possibly get to the Stanley Cup. That isn't quite the case this year, because of the fact that, the Rangers finished third in the division last year. They didn't get through the first round against the Devils, even with the, potent lineup that they had. And this year, it's not quite the same talk. A lot of people are so iffy about the Rangers. Quite honestly, a lot of people are predicting the Rangers to finish third in this division again. And that's fine by me. To me, where they finish in the division, whether it's first, second, or third, doesn't really matter. It's going to be the first round matchup that they get in the postseason, if they get there, obviously. And, with this lineup, I think the Rangers should be a playoff team, and I think they will be a playoff team. Guys like Adam Fox, he's been a solid defenseman for the Rangers. He was a Norris Trophy candidate again last year. You got Igor Shesterkin, who's in net. He's been a potent goaltender for the New York Rangers. He's elite. I mean, he is up there. He is one of the best in the league. Last year, after winning the Vezina the prior season, maybe he didn't have that solid of a season. I think the defense got off to a really bad start last year, and I think Igor Shesterkin suffered from that. But as the season progressed, the defense got a little bit better. Igor got even more better, and it continued from there. The Rangers, the Rangers offense, 3.33 goals, 4 per game. That was 12th in the league last year. Their power play was 24.1%. That was seventh best in the season. Top 7, top 10. That's pretty good to me. Kreider,
Yep.
Zibanejad, Panarin. They were very solid. Adam Fox was very solid on the power play last year. We looked for them to continue that going into this season. And after seeing, game 1 against Buffalo the other night, Kreider getting a goal on the power play again, he's just going to continue doing that. If he continues to do that, the Rangers are going to be successful on the power play again this year. Their defense, 2.63 goals against per game. That was third in the league. According to the numbers I'm looking at, that penalty kill was 81.2, 13th best in the league. I mean, that's the middle of the pack. I like to see that get better. Because quite honestly, the Rangers need to, get a lot better on the penalty kill. They allowed a lot of bad goals on the power play last year, and I don't want to see that continue this year. But with a solid defense, with the addition of Gustafsson, I think the Rangers' defense is a little bit better. Mikkola is gone, so he replaces him. So I think that was a good acquisition by the Rangers. He's a good offense. He can shoot. He can score. He can play defense. I like the addition. You mentioned Kako and Lafreniere and Hedl. There's no doubt in my mind that this is going to be the season that these 3 players come to fruition. They need to step up. Hedl stepped up pretty big last year. I think he had a great season. What did he have? His numbers were 22 goals, 23 assists, 45 points. That's really, really good. Those are all career numbers for him. Kako, 18, 22, 40 points. Not bad, but I like to see more. They're expecting a lot more out of Kaapo Kakko this year, and I can see that. I think he's, 23 years old now?
Yep.
I think he's finally starting to come into his own, and if he continues to mature as a player, I think Kaapo Kakko is going to do some big things for the New York Rangers. A lot later than we expected, being a number 2 overall pick. But you know what? Better late than never. Lafreniere, number 1 overall pick, bro. And we talk about this all the fucking time. And I've been frustrated with Alexis for at least 2 seasons now, because you give him a pass season 1 because he's a rookie, blah 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 blah. But he was this highly touted, high skilled player in junior and all that, and he's coming in as a young player, and you think he's going to come onto the scene and explode, and he didn't do that. Sort of like Crosby did when he came into the league. That's what I was expecting out of a number 1 overall pick. Maybe my expectations were too high. I don't know about yours, but he needs to step up in a big way this year. They just gave him a 2-year contract. This is do or die for him. If he doesn't step up, he's going to be gone in 2 years, maybe even sooner than that. Hedl, I think, is just going to continue to grow. He's been phenomenal. I think he's got a lot of skill for a 23rd overall pick. I think he was a 21st overall pick. He's really starting to come into his own, and I like the direction he's going in. Those are the 3 players that the Rangers are going to have to expect more from this year if they expect to go to the playoffs and get to the Stanley Cup. What
Absolutely.
do you think?
Absolutely. And what they do is it lengthens their lineup. Whenever you have younger players that are expected to contribute and they start contributing, guys like Trocheck and Wheeler, can play on the third line. And when you have, Vinny Trocheck he's a top 2 center on a lot of NHL teams, but on a cup contender, any team would love to have Vincent Trocheck on their third line. A great face-off guy that can go in the corners, make plays. You have Wheeler on, a cheap 1-year deal, a winner, a guy that loves to compete, good size, and then Will Cooley as well, another young rookie coming into the mix. it lengthens the lineup. You have Barkley Goodrow on the fourth line, with Pitlick and Benino, who's solid. So I think when you have these younger players, Hedel, Lafreniere, Kako, playing in the top six, getting those minutes, playing with better players and contributing, it lengthens the lineup. It makes your lineup have more depth. It gives you more of a checking presence all the way throughout. I love what you said about Kako. What I love about him the most is the way he protects the puck. I'd like for him to shoot more. I think he's going to more this year, but he's a guy that has elite skill. And again, stealing pucks in the corners, retrieval, getting it to the playmakers, doesn't always get credit on the score sheet, but an invaluable piece if we're going to be successful. Philip Hedel's a center. He signed a 4-year deal. He's a sure thing. I mean, he's going to always contribute. The challenge with Hedel always has been he's injury prone. It just seems like he always gets dinged up and nicked up every year, lower body, upper body, concussion, leg, whatever it is. So if he can stay healthy, Hedel's probably one of our best skaters, on both ends of the ice. He's got a really underrated shot. He's going to be contributing. And now he's going to be playing with Panarin starting the season. I think last year that, you had Trocheck, and before that you had Strome, more of a veteran guy with him. Now Philip Hedel gets his opportunity with a new coach, to really take the reins as the number 2 center. And so far, even after one game here, he's done really well. And Lafreniere, we've talked about him. He has had some disappointing trends. There has been lack of effort in preseason games that we've seen. There has been much to be desired in terms of his puck control. He's dazzled and made some brilliant plays. He's kind of
wowed. His work ethic has been questioned.
It has.
Many a times.
He's not a rink rat, but, Peter Laviolette likes him a lot. And it's when the head coach likes you, he's going to put you in the lineup. And, it's a good first start for him. He's got a couple points. But Lafreniere is going to have to get into game shape and really, earn his time, because there's going to be other wingers, waiting in the wings, Brennan Othman, Cooley, some of these other players that want to get that ice time. So Lafreniere has a lot to play for. He's got a 2-year deal. It's a bridge deal. It's certainly not a guarantee that he's going to be here. But the New York Rangers locker room loves his personality. So it's not a personality thing in the locker room they don't like. I think it really comes down to him playing with structure, playing with discipline, taking the body when necessary, and, not trying to force things and do too much. I mean, I don't think he's going to be a burner that's going to blow by people, and he's not a Jack Hughes type, but he does have good vision. He does have a good shot, and he's got to put himself in really good positions, and he's going to be playing with Panarin for the foreseeable future. So I think we should see a lot from Lafreniere. He's going to have to play well. There is a lot of pressure on him, but I think, we'll this is a preview we're doing here, but the first game, it did look like he seemed a lot more comfortable. So maybe Gallant, I'll touch on a point that I think that's happening here. I think the last couple of years, the kids, they really wanted to take that next step with the team, but the kid line thing in the playoffs, they had the most juice and they had the most energy for that playoff run. What I think that those kids were hoping for was more power play time and more playing time the following season. I don't think Gallant did that. I think he kind of reverted back to the veterans kind of getting more of the time. And then when we picked up Tarasenko and Kane, I just don't think the kid line had the same juice. I think they were probably a little disappointed. If you're a hockey player and you're a first overall pick, second overall pick, and every season they keep replacing top 6 minutes from you, it's going to wear on your psyche. So I think a lot of these, like Kako, Lafreniere, especially as wingers, I think they really had to dig deep and, really try to figure out, hey, I may need a new voice here to get us going. So I think Laviolette, with a new perspective, he's asking them to do different things in the defensive zone. He's asking defensemen to join the play. So I think they may thrive under this system. We'll certainly see. But those 3 players are huge for us. I mean, and that's really the unknown of the Rangers. I mean, we have high-end skill, we have excellent defense, and we have one of the best goalies in hockey. It's these young kids that we've relied on now for the past few years. Now they really have to be one of the focuses of our team, because if they can't do that, then we're only going to be a first-round team. But if they can play at an elite level and raise their level of play then it's a different story. Then you have to outlook of the Rangers has to be different.
Yeah, I think Kalan heavily relied on veteran players, and that's the reason. I think that's one of the reasons why guys like Capo Caco, Philip Hedel, and Alexei Lafreniere, were kind of kicked to the curb for a bit, especially after they got Tarasenko and Kane at the trade deadline. But we hope that things will be different with Laviolette. Now, Gerard Gallant last year saw a lot of the Ranger players doing a lot of passing and didn't shoot as much. They did a lot of east-west, and they played a lot of east-west instead of north and south. And Peter Laviolette is going to be that type of coach who's going to demand some more north-south play and more shooting, and that's what he's demanding out of his players this year. Now, we saw game one, Rangers won 5-1. Peter Laviolette's system seemed to be, work very well in game one. I mean, there's still a long season to go. We'll see what happens going forward, but I like what I saw in game one of the season, and I like the system because the Rangers were very into it. I think they're buying into the system, even though we didn't see a lot of execution on that system during the preseason. But then again, that's also because you got a lot of players trying out for the team, trying to make the team, and you're not getting the your four lines on the ice to see what you've got. And now I think that's all coming to fruition now with the four lines all set, and Peter Laviolette's system working. We talked about Igor. Elite goaltender. Last year we had Halak in as a backup. This year we're not going to have that. We have Jonathan Quick, a 38, 39-year-old goaltender who's on the downside of his career. If Igor is to get hurt at any time during the course of the season, I think the Rangers might be in trouble unless they go and make another acquisition because, quite honestly, I don't trust Jonathan Quick. He had a very bad preseason, but again, what do you make out of preseason numbers? You don't make much out of them. We hope that he's a lot better than what he showed in the preseason. So the defense in front of Igor obviously is key. If they do their part, Igor is going to look even better than the goaltender that he is, and that's what we expect out of this defense. The forwards, we've talked about it in length already. These guys are tremendously talented. They should score a lot of goals. They should be at the top of the league in goal scoring, power play. Like I said, I like to see the penalty kill get a little bit better. But where do you think the Rangers are going to be with the top tier of the league this year? Your Torontos, your Bostons, your Devils, your Carolinas. How do you rank the Rangers against these particular teams, especially in the Eastern Conference?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, you have to have a good coach. I think Laviolette's coaching pedigree certainly speaks for itself. He's taken 3 teams to the Cup final. He's won a Stanley Cup. The Rangers have a lot of great ingredients. They have Igor Shesterkin, who is probably a top 1, 2, or 3 goalie in the league. Adam Fox is a top 4 defenseman in the league. And then you have Mika, who's a top maybe 11, 12 center in the game. Panarin's a top 10 player in the game, you could argue. The Rangers have a lot of talent. They have a lot of skill. The Rangers are going to cash in on the power play. I think the Rangers, regardless of what the numbers say league-wide, the Rangers always get big power play goals and big moments. And I think the Rangers use that to their advantage with having Kreider in front. I guess what I think the Rangers are going to have a little bit of a struggle with is probably team speed. Kreider is obviously very fast north-south, not a twitchy defender, but, very great north-south. Mika Zibanejad's a great skater, and then Hedel. And then you have Miller on the back end, and Schneider's a good skater. But Wheeler was a pickup for size and some grit and scoring touch on the third line. We still need a little bit more speed. I mean, I think when you look at a team like the Devils, they have rockets all over the field, all over the ice that can separate and make plays. And they really did a number on our defense last year. So I think
And they
we
and they
have
only added and they only added more scoring and more speed in the offseason.
right. So they got they also got some grit. The Devils, with their cap space, they bring in Luke Hughes, who is going to be their number one defenseman eventually and take that spot from Hamilton. Tyler Toffoli, who is a Stanley Cup champion, clutch player, is going to be in their top nine, top six. Palat. So they have a great mix. But they showed their youth and inexperience last year against the Hurricanes. And the Rangers seem to do better against the Hurricanes than some of these other teams do. So what else? I'll say this: the Rangers, they have a good team structure. They have had success against all of the teams in question. The regular season is going to be important. Obviously, you want to get into the playoffs. You want to stay healthy. The Rangers don't have an old team like Pittsburgh is older. They're going to have injuries and problems. The Capitals are going to have injuries and problems. They're going to have like the Islanders. So it's really going to come down to in this division. It's going to come down to the Hurricanes and the Devils. And the Hurricanes, they have a tremendous team structure, a relentless forecheck, and they might have one of the best coaches in the NHL, but they're going to struggle sometimes because they do not have a superstar game breaker that can just take a game over. They win games close, they win games gritty and tight. And if they catch a team napping, they'll blow you out. But, the Rangers have had success against Carolina. Last year, Panarin had 4 goals in that game. So the Rangers have had success against Carolina, and the Devils have been the team that everyone's going to talk about. But now they have expectations. The Devils now, they're expected to come in first or second place, and they're going to have Stanley Cup aspirations. Their goaltender stopped us cold in the playoffs, but by no means do they have that position secured. And defensively, the Devils sometimes leave a lot to be desired in the zone. Last year, they just clogged up our neutral zone. We just did not have the speed to catch up to them on the counterattack. So I think with a new system in place, it's going to be interesting to see how we do against the Devils. That's going to be our number one nemesis, I believe, moving forward. And then to the other division, I mean, Boston's going to take a step back. They lost a lot of guys. They lost Krejci and Bergeron. So their center position is lacking. I don't think Boston's going to have the same juice. That window last year may have closed. Tampa's still around, but their core is getting older. And Toronto, Toronto just beats themselves. It's hard to play in Toronto. You think the Yankees have pressure here in New York. I mean, it's multiply that twofold to Toronto. I mean, they get on these guys quickly, and some of these guys are rumbling. They may want to leave. So, our division's probably the most competitive. It's going to be down to the Devils. But the Rangers, historically, the past few years have done okay against these teams. And I think what we really need to do is find a way to manage our approach against how we handle their team speed. And I think what Laviolette likes to do is clogging up the neutral zone, relentless forecheck in the zone. But when the team comes out, we're not chasing guys around, letting them get a full head of steam. So I think that's going to be the key. I think it's basically going to come down to film study, effort, and execution. I don't think we're ever going to be faster than the Devils. I don't think that's like a possibility. But I do think that we can draw penalties. I do like how we can take advantage of some matchups. So it's going to be interesting. But we do have success to fall back on, and we have a lot of veteran experience now. And we're not even too old of a team at this point. Our core is still relatively young. So I'm optimistic. Now, what's really going to matter at the end of the day is in a tight series when the refs throw away the whistles, how are we going to, get calls our way? How are we going to manage the series? But we have a puncher's chance to beat the Devils and beat the Canes and do very well. We just have to get there and like you said earlier, Shesterkin and a lot, especially, we have to stay healthy. We don't have the depth with our salary cap issues for guys to fill in some of these positions.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, some of the weaknesses for the Rangers last year obviously was the overpassing and not shooting. That was one of their weakness. Their other weakness was, playing against speedy teams. That's something that the Rangers really have to do a better job against. Like you said, a lot of gameplay watching, videos. You got to come up with a system, and I think Laviolette's got the system down. Now it's just a matter of the players perfecting it. And I think the Rangers will do a lot better against, speedy teams like the New Jersey Devils. the I think the Rangers, after watching them game one this season in that 5-1 win against Buffalo, they seem a bit more aggressive on the forecheck, something the Rangers lacked last year. I just didn't think they were very aggressive. Their other weakness last year too, and it was very frustrating to watch, was the Rangers coming out of their zone. How many times did we text back and forth and I complained to you, like, what the fuck? The Rangers can't get the puck out of their own zone. And it was so frustrating because they were, again, overpassing. They were just not, they was just looking for the pretty pass instead of just getting the puck out of the zone. And if they did get the puck out of the zone, they were just dumping it out. And they just refused to carry it out because of the pressure teams were putting on them. And teams know this. Teams knew this. So they went after the player with the puck, applied the pressure. Most of the time the Rangers were giving it up. And, quite honestly, on many occasions the Rangers gave up some bad goals because they couldn't get the puck out of the zone. And I think Laviolette is going to do a better job with that this year, with the north-south passing, getting the puck out of the zone, setting up in the offensive zone, getting the shots on net, and less passing in the offensive zone. I think that's going to be key for the New York Rangers this year. Let's get into, expectations. We've already said that we expected the Rangers to make the playoffs. Last year they finished with what? They 47, 22, and 13 record, 107 points. That's a pretty good season. They were like what, 2 points behind the Devils?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Carolina.
Yep.
And I
We're right
remember
there.
we had a pod at the end of the last season, or actually we were previewing the series against the Devils, and I had said that I was scared shitless about the New Jersey Devils, that I would have preferred that the Rangers would have flip flopped with the with the Devils or something, and end up getting Carolina because we were much more familiar with the Carolina Hurricanes, and it didn't quite work out that way. But my expectations and a lot of people's expectations that the Rangers are going to finish around with the same record, about 47, 48 wins, about 100, 105 to 107, 108 points. They're predicting to finish third. Like I said before, that's fine by me. To me, the only thing that really matters is the first round matchup and getting past the first round, whoever that opponent is going to be, whether it's going to be Carolina or it's going to be New Jersey. What are your expectations out of New York Rangers as far as record is concerned?
Yeah, I mean, last year, again, people forget we started out 11-10. So if you get a couple more wins on the ledger there, the Rangers are probably in second. So the Rangers, had a great
If
year.
not in first, it's a good point, Jamie, because last year, quite honestly, with that start, the Rangers fell behind the Devils, I think, in Carolina by like
Like
what,
10, 12
yeah,
points.
like it was like 10 points.
Yeah, it's
But
too much
before
of a
you
hole.
blinked, before you blinked, the team leader, I mean the division leader, already had 10 point lead on the Rangers early on in the season, and that's
Mhm.
a good point by you. I mean, had they not started off slow like that, they could have possibly been challenging for first place at the end of the season instead of
And
third.
that could change the complexion. I mean, we
Yeah.
actually we knocked off the Devils twice on the road, ironically, but because they were definitely tight and a little bit nervous. So, but you got to remember these other teams have expectations too. The Carolina Hurricanes, they've been the darlings. They always make it to the second round and they can't get over the hump. Now Brind'Amour is a terrific coach, but their structure, their challenge is they do not have a game breaking superstar player. They have a lot of very good players, and they like I would say 1 through 4, their lines have the most depth and skill, but they don't have a Panera. They don't have a Zibanejad type of guy. They have like Aho, Svechnikov, and the rest of it is really just really, really talented role players that fit the system. The Rangers, they do have they do have a better goaltender, and he's got to stay healthy, but the Rangers have a goaltending edge. So I see no reason why the Rangers should do exactly the same as they did last year. They could even do better. If they start out, a little bit better, maybe 5 games over 500, maybe they go 15-8 and as opposed to, 11-10. I mean, and if you just keep that pace for a while, you could be even better. The Devils have a lot of expectation. They have a lot of young players. And they have to win. they have to win these games. Lindy Ruff has to, he's got pressure. And Carolina, they're tired of finishing second place, and not losing to Florida, losing to us in back-to-back years in the in the semifinals. So there's a lot of pressure on them as well to win. Now it's New York. We bring in a new coach. I think the team, the leadership group has responded well to Laviolette. I think they're going to continue to just follow his lead and continue to play, free spirited hockey. I think the Rangers, again, I mean, it's I see no reason why they can't finish exactly the same. Hockey historically has told us that there's always a team that's near the top that takes a step back. Is Carolina going to take a step back? Some people think they're going to win the cup. I don't think that they're going to win the cup. I don't think they have the goaltending secure. I don't think they have a superstar. I
They
think they're
got
going to
better on
struggle.
defense this year, though. They got a
They've got
solid
Orloff.
defense.
They always. I mean, they are just. They have so many really good players all over the ice. But sometimes you need that superstar player to get you over the hump. And they beat the Devils last year, and the Devils, and they were banged up, the Canes. So it's just interesting. It's where the chips fall. I mean, the Rangers have to cash in on the teams they're supposed to beat, and you gotta win head to head. So how they're gonna handle these in season matchups? The first overall seed. I mean, you get that wild card draw. That's usually an easier opponent. The Rangers haven't had that luxury the past few years. So this could be the year where all the teams are really close and the Rangers could finish first. It's not out of the question the Rangers could finish first. I mean, I think there's not a huge dip, in my opinion, between all three teams. I think they're all very close to each other. But it's going to come down to our goaltending staying healthy, and and it's going to come down to winning the games you're supposed to win, and then we got to knock off some of these teams head to head. And the Devils we had under control, except for the playoff series. I mean, we beat them in the regular season, or only once, but the Carolina we were. So a lot of variables here, but we certainly have to stay healthy, and the young kids have to contribute like the young kids are contributing on the Devils. We got to see that contribution.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I don't know if you know anything about the Rangers farm system. Obviously, the Rangers got Cooley up right now playing wing. He looks pretty good. He's a big size guy with
Yep.
with some grit. He's got some skill. I'm interested to seeing whether or not he's going to stick. Hopefully he does, because quite honestly, he looked pretty good in that 5-1 win against Buffalo. He was where he was supposed to be. He was doing the things he needed to do. He put some big hits on some players on Buffalo, so it was good to see that. It didn't look like he was, any knots in his stomach. I mean, he went out there and he was flying around, and he had a pretty good game. During the preseason, obviously, we saw Brennan Othman in the preseason. I think he performed pretty well. He didn't make the roster, but quite honestly, he's an up and coming player. The first
Sure.
person to struggle that goes down, I think he's going to get the call up. Then you got Gabe Perreault. I haven't really heard much about him as far as how far he is from making the NHL roster, but he's another kid that the Rangers are looking at. I mean, these are all wingers. Obviously, the Rangers have had their issues with with the wingers, the shortage of wingers on either side of the ice. But there's some star power in the minors right now, and I think the Rangers, I think they're probably ranked around the middle of the pack as far as prospects are concerned. What do you think about these kids?
Yeah, I like him a lot. So Brennan Othman, he had a very good career. Played on the Canada World Juniors. He's played with Bedard. He's played with big time players. He's played in the OHL, and that's a tough junior league. And it's most now. I think that a lot of these kids. I think Perot, he might be going to college for a little bit. I don't know if he's going to be ready yet. But Othman, to me, is going to be the most game ready. I like his size. He's fast, and he's got really good hands. He's a great passer as well. I think he's probably faster than Lafreniere in terms of skating stride. He's just got to develop and continue his game. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time in the AHL. So I think that's what I think the Rangers do have plans to bring him up. I mean, that Lafreniere, that's another thing. He has to earn his ice time, so he needs to continue to play well and earn it and keep him in the minors. But I think Othman at some point is going to get a crack. It might be on the fourth line, getting a little bit of playing time, if the Rangers have a guy down. But he's certainly the most capable and the most ready. And then Perot, I think he's got I think he's a little bit of years away. I think he's got some time. Still very, very young. But, Zach Jones, he yeah, so I mean, I think the organization thinks highly of him. He produced minor leagues. He can, he's good on the power play, and he plays with a lot of confidence. And I think if Gustafson falters, and he might, if there was one Ranger I thought was like okay, I think Gustafson had a little bit of a tougher first game. Wheeler needs to, probably get in game shape. He's probably wasn't doing too much, as a veteran in the offseason. So I think those two guys got to improve. I think, Othman, he's going to be the first person they call up if they need a little more speed, a little bit more scoring touch, a little bit more creativity offensively up and down the lineup. They may bring him in. And I think Zach Jones, he didn't do well when he first got to New York the last couple of years, but he's still a young player. I think the Rangers think highly of him. So the Rangers do have go-to pieces that can actually play, which is always a good sign. But the concern, as you alluded to earlier, it's goal. John Quick is he's probably going to be a Hall of Fame goalie, winning 2 Stanley Cups and having a great career, one of the best American-born goalies to play. But he is getting up there, being older, and we may need to consider one of these other guys to fill in if the worst case scenario happens. So can't really complain about the farm system. We haven't given up a lot of prospects in the Drury era. He hasn't, Vetrano and Kopp, it was a first rounder, but we had an extra. And last year we didn't give up that much either, honestly. So it seems that Drury cares about his prospects. It seems that they're developing really well. And we got 2 guys that can play, that can come in and light it up if they have to. So very happy with that.
What was your biggest surprise when the New York Rangers roster was announced?
I was surprised. That's an interesting call.
I want to see if you name the same player as I do. Because there's one particular player that got shafted, I think.
Goodrow on the fourth line. Would it be?
No, I'm thinking about Jimmy Vesey. That was my biggest surprise.
Yeah, Vesey. I thought that he would be on that fourth line to start. I think they really like Pitlick's size, and they like his the fact that he can take and win draws. Goodrow is a capable center, but they like him on the wing. I was a little bit surprised that Bonino. I think Vesey is going to get his playing time though. He plays a very well-rounded game. He has some skill. I would not be surprised if they work in Vesey. But it's just possible that Laviolette for the first game, he wanted to get Bonino a shot. I think he didn't really get that much opportunities before. He may have seen him in the past and like what he's done. So I think Vesey, he knows his role, and he's gonna have his moment. To kind of be on the team. So, I was a little surprised by that. I was surprised how quickly Laviolette really didn't Trocheck. He came in with his contract is $5.7 million. He's not a guy that's making like nothing. And he came in right away and says, Heedle's our second line center. And he didn't even hesitate. And I think Heedle appreciated that. And I think Lafreniere too. And Kakko, from day one, Laviolette's like, you guys have to play top 6.
He's showing the confidence in these 3 players that Gallant
right
didn't.
Off the bat. Yeah, right off
I mean,
because
quite honestly,
it was third line. I mean, Heedle was third line.
Yep.
Lafreniere was third line. Kakko got an opportunity, but then when he faltered, so I think from jump, Laviolette is like, hey, in order for my system to work with 3 lines that can execute and forecheck and defense joining the rush, and you come back winning draws.
These guys have to play.
You have to play. You got to play. And I think, and it's going to be a tough lesson if one of them has to get, maybe Lafreniere, we kind of suspect, but he had a good first game. So you suspect if there's any struggle, he's going to maybe make a tweak here and there. not going to do wholesale changes. But for the foreseeable future, Hedel and Panarin, that's exciting. I mean, because you have a great skater in Hedel with so much upside. And I think Panarin appreciates that too. I think he misses Strome. I think that was his guy. But I think having a young Hedel he's going to feed Panarin, whenever he needs, Lafreniere as well. I think they're going to get the most out of him. Um, the same way that Patrick Kane got a lot out of Panarin when he was younger. So I appreciate the immediate impact of playing these young kids and making them a part of the focal part of the team. I think that's going to do a lot for their confidence. But I do agree with you. I was a little bit surprised at VC and really not surprised at Will Cooley because he's been on our radar for a year and you love his size. And I'm looking forward to him to get a couple shots on net because he could really wire the puck too.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, that VC was my biggest surprise. I was kind of a little surprised that Cooley made the roster right off the bat, but then again, I think he worked his ass off. He had a pretty good preseason. I think he had like 3 goals in the preseason, 4
Yeah.
goals, whatever it was. I mean, he had a good camp, and Peter Laviolette rewarded him with a roster spot, and that's
Yeah.
good to see because quite honestly, again, going back to Gallant, he didn't show the confidence in these young players like
Right.
Peter Laviolette is this year. But again, we're only one game in. Let's not get crazy. Let's see what happens in the next couple of days, a few games, the next couple of weeks, whatever. Well, if they begin to struggle, then maybe we might see some changes. We might see VC come back into the lineup a bit more consistently. I mean, we'll see, but. Again, it's good to see that these young players are playing. I like the system that Peter Laviolette is bringing to the New York Rangers. A more north-south team instead of an east-west team. He's promoting more shooting instead of more passing, and he's gonna play the forecheck. He's gonna play a solid system. This is the reason why I think Peter Laviolette was brought in here. Because he's the type of guy who brings in a system that's gonna have an aggressive forecheck. We saw it in the Buffalo game. They were clogging up the neutral zone. Buffalo didn't have an answer for
Right.
the Rangers' defensive system coming through the neutral zone, and it was good to see the
Yeah.
Rangers actually put that on a team instead of teams doing it to the New York Rangers for a change.
And also, too, I'll add, one quick thing. I mean, the defensemen are adding to the rush. I mean, this is going to be great for Miller and Fox and
Yep,
Schneider.
yep, no doubt.
Joining the play, not just dumping it in and letting the 2-on-2. If you're making it a 3-on-2, the other forward gets back, take his position, lets the defenseman continue the play, generate offense. And I think this is going to be really big for Miller because we expect a lot out of Keandre Miller, too, who's got tremendous upside, and he might be our best all-around defenseman, and Braden Schneider as well. So I think getting the defenseman in on the rush, we're going to see a lot more defensemen get involved other than Fox. And that's going to only, create more offense, more forecheck, and more puck possession and keeping it out of the other team's hands. So really like to see that as well.
No doubt. Let's do some predictions.
Woo.
What do you think the Rangers are going to finish? How many points do you think they're going to finish with, and what spot in the division they'll finish?
Um, let's go. Let's be a contrarian. Let's do the Rangers at 108 points, and they're going to finish in second. I think maybe one of the teams takes a dip. Something happens. Who knows? But these predictions usually, go the other way. So who knows? Maybe it's a tighter division. Other teams get wins. No one really goes above the pack. So it's like 108 wins and in second, 108 points. And then I like to do some player props. I mean,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think let's do Kreider at 20 power play goals. He had 26 a year ago. And then last year he only had 8 or 9, which is a huge drop off. But I think, again, north-south shooting the puck as Fox has an option, more just throwing it to the net with those deflections. Let's do 20 power play goals for Kreider. Panarin is almost automatic at 90 points. I mean, he never fails you there. But I want to give the other kid. I want to see. Let's see if who's going to get like 50, 60 points out of it. Maybe Kako, maybe Lafreniere, maybe one of those guys at 60 points. It's hard to say. There could be a surprise
I think
player.
Kako's got a good chance of doing that, especially with Panarin on his line, because of the fact that Panarin is a really, really good passer,
He's playing
and
with
he knows.
Zibanejad and Kreider.
It's
Well,
just like
Kako's, yeah,
sometimes I just feel like Panarin has got eyes behind his head, because that pass that he had in that game one against Buffalo, where he passed to Lafreniere on that first goal of the game, that
yeah,
was an incredible pass. I mean, like,
great look.
how the fuck did he know that Lafreniere was there? I mean, he put that shit right on the stick, and Lafreniere, all he had to
Yeah,
do was just tip it in. It was a gorgeous goal. It was good to see
yeah.
that.
It's
I think Kako's got a good chance of doing that.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, because Panarin has the spidey senses. He just can know. He knows where people are, and he knows when people come to him, there's someone open. So I think that chemistry will only continue to go with him and Lafreniere, and maybe Heedle can get to 30 goals. He's got to stay healthy. Let's see if he can get to 30. I'd like to see Miller offensively join the rush. Maybe he can put in, some 10 goals, maybe. So there's a lot of predictions. You don't want to get too carried away with predictions because that could always bite you in the ass. Like the Giants are going to beat Dallas and then they lose 40-0. So try not to go down that road too much. But how about this one? I think Igor Shesterkin could win the Vezina this year again.
That was
That
going to
that
be.
could be
My
that's a
prediction was
possibility
that he was going to be in the conversation. I mean, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say he's going to win it, but he's going to definitely be in the conversation for the Vezina.
because he just has to get a better start. If he has a better start last year, he's right there.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt
So
about it. I again, the defense failed him in the first like 20 games of the season, because if
right,
the defense played a lot better, his goals against average would have been a lot lower than
yeah.
the what was it 2.48 last year, and the year he won the Vezina, I think he was at 2.1920 some shit like that.
Yeah. So
It
if
was
he
a
had a
lot
better
better than
start,
that.
if the defense played better to start the first 20 games last year, he's probably looking at a much better goals against average too.
Who's going to be your top goal scorer for the Rangers?
It's going to be Zibanejad in terms of goals. He had 39 last year. I think he should have probably the same 38, 39, 40 goals. I think Kreider's going to be closer to him. I think he'll be like around the same 35, 36, but I think a lot more on the power play. But you never know with Kreider. I mean, he could just kind of go off and go nuts. I think more goals for Panarin. Panarin's going to have 90 points. He just doesn't. He just is so consistent. He's just so dangerous. Fox is going to have like 80 points.
I was very
Um,
disappointed in Panarin in that series against the Devils.
yeah, but you know what?
He,
Like he needs. I think Trocheck was a
people,
problem
no,
catching
I'm
up to the
sorry, I
speed.
don't mean to break you off, but people wanted Panarin out of here after that series.
I mean,
I
stop it.
mean, like,
Come on.
come
I
on,
don't like
stop.
Ranger. I hate Ranger fans. They can be the worst. I mean, they wanted Gallant and everyone traded in the middle of the year last year. It's like they're never happy. Like, just we have a competitive team with a chance in the NHL with a salary cap, and other teams are very good. It's like when the Rangers lose a game, it's like the sky's falling, and then when they win, it's we got to go to the cup. It's like, hold on now, let's analyze this, be a little bit objective. Panarin, he didn't have a great series, but like a lot of guys didn't. And you know what? Trocheck got beat so many times up and down the ice by the speed of the Devils. Now he's with Heedle. Now he's at Lafreniere, who is a younger player. So maybe that matchup is different. Maybe Trocheck against a third line opponent is better in a series. So there's a lot of factors. And again, that's with Gallant not making the adjustments that we talked about. Changes the lines all year, and then he kind of doesn't make the changes he needs in the playoffs. It could be a totally different scenario here. Schneider is going to be better. Miller is going to be better. Our guys get better too, just like anyone else's. So, that's tough. But the Ranger fans can be really unbearable sometimes with
Yeah.
what they expect of the team and how they turn on guys.
Well, it's been
So
30 years since they won the Stanley Cup. Well, this year is going
I
to be
know, but
30
it's not
years.
been. But in my opinion, that's not a failure. Like you have Ranger fans that say it's been a failure for 30 years. We're not the New York Yankees. We don't win the World Series. This is hockey.
Hmm.
There's a lot of other good teams. We're not the Penguins. We're not that or the Lightning. And like when the opportunity comes, you got to take advantage. Last year may have been an opportunity that slipped away, but you got to move forward. I mean, and to make the playoffs in the NHL is not easy because our division, top to bottom, is very, very difficult. You got Hall of Famers all over the division, not even in the top three. So again, calm down, Ranger fans. Let's enjoy the win. We got Columbus tonight, one game at a time, and we're not getting rid of Panarin. I mean, we could stop with that, I think.
Yeah, I think so. So my predictions are Zibanejad is going to be the top goal scorer. I think he's gonna break 40.
Okay, I like it.
I think Kreider is going to lead in power play goals. I think 20 sounds about right. I think Shesterkin is going to be in a Vezina conversation at the end of the season if the defense stays healthy and protects the net. Fox is going to be in a Norris conversation as a top defender. And I think Panarin is going to break 100 points. Those are my
Ooh, I
predictions.
love that.
As far
I
as the
love that.
playoffs are concerned, I think the Rangers, I agree with you. I think the Rangers could finish second, and barring any injuries, maybe they could finish first. I mean,
Not out of the question. It's
no, it's not. If the Rangers play better and do well against the speedy New Jersey Devils and win the series outright during the course of the season, I think there's a good chance the Rangers could finish first. Like I said before, to me, whether they finish first, second, or third, it really doesn't matter. That first round matchup is going to be key, and whether they're hot going into the playoffs or not is going to be another key. I mean, obviously, teams who go into the postseason hot are teams that are going to make it deep into the postseason. If the Rangers get hot at the right time with this talent, with this goaltending, with this defense, I mean, I can see them going to the Stanley Cup Finals.
They have just the Rangers have a puncher's chance and a legit chance to go very far again.
Yep.
The predictions are the predictions.
I mean, the good thing about this year is that nobody is saying, well, this is the year the Rangers go into the postseason. I mean, to the Stanley Cup Finals. Right. That chatter has pretty much, simmered down, and I like that because, quite honestly, I didn't want to go into the season with everybody talking about how the Rangers have a chance of winning the Stanley Cup, because I don't want that kind of pressure on the team. I want this team to just go in, do their thing, win games, get to the postseason, and then whatever happens.
Yeah. And then the trade deadline will come. We'll see what we need to fix, and we'll go from there. I think for all intents and purposes with Drury, he's done a solid job. I mean, dude, last year was disappointing, but you know what? On home ice, I think it was Game 5. The Rangers, they won their game. Or it was Game 6. They had to win.
Game 6.
They had to win it. They won it, and then Game 7, they just didn't have any gas in the tank. But listen, I mean, there's those little moments in the series. You could say that the Devils, they had a chance in Game 3. They had some flurries in the second, third period to maybe get a lead, and then the Devils come back. So you can always shoulda, woulda, coulda. You could say that about the Bruins. I mean, the Bruins were up 3-1 against Florida. Marchand has a breakaway with 1 second left. Bobrovsky stops him. Game goes to overtime. Florida wins it in overtime for Hagee. Then they lose the next 2, and Florida goes to the Cup final. So that Boston could have won. So that it's a matter of seconds.
Yep.
That can change. So in these critical moments, that's where coaching comes in. That's where confidence comes in. Rangers have as good a chance as anybody to go really far. So just got to get there, be healthy, and have your ducks in a row, and you have any good chances as anyone.
Awesome job, Jamie, as usual. Thanks for coming on, bro. Thanks for talking New York Rangers with me. And we'll do this again very soon. We got to talk some New York Giants because, quite honestly, even though there's not much to talk about, there's a lot to talk about as far as New York Giants are concerned. But we'll do that another time.
You bet,
all right,
man.
Jamie, thanks again for coming on, bro. I'll talk to you soon. Peace out.
You bet, buddy.
Let's go, Rangers. Peace.